I am so thrilled, Brian White. I mean, about time that Tesla did something in their, one of the cities where they have lots of actual employees. Well, at least Star
SpaceX.
SpaceX, at least Star something. At least SpaceX has a lot of employees in this neighborhood, and
LA Design Studios down there as
that's
well.
right, LA Design Studio and other Tesla companies are parts of the company as well. But we are going to be having an event here in Burbank, which is ostensibly part of Los Angeles, the overall giant thing called Los Angeles area. And I understand you're going to be coming down here as part of the event because you want to and because you're hoping.
I'm hoping, yeah, as part of the event, more like in hopes of getting a golden ticket. I'm
Yes.
concerned that there will be far, far more interest in these tickets than there will be tickets. And we know that you can scale a Tesla event to any size and not run out of people who really want to go and still can't. We saw that with the Cyber Rodeo, 20,000 tickets, no room at the inn for me and Dr. Know-It-All.
Yeah.
But but this is going to be a much hotter ticket. So I'm very much looking forward to trying to find a way to get in. But in any case, I will be there. I will be heading down to the greater Los Angeles area to, hey, if it's a studio backlot, I'm just going to call it Hollywood, even though it's Burbank. It's close enough. It's the general, it's more of a philosophy than a location.
I lived in Culver City for 17 years and 2 minutes from Culver City for another 29. And that's the real Hollywood. Are you kidding me? Culver City is the real Hollywood. MGM Studios is in Hollywood. I mean, is in Culver City. Right next to that is Fox. You have all of the Hanna-Barbera and all the rest of the cartoonists right in the heart of Culver City. When I say MGM, it's no longer MGM, of course, it's Sony. But all of that is in Culver City. So we were truly, the Hollywood, but they got the sign, so they win. So Burbank, why you put together a video the other day that 15,000 people saw, and you said that it was genius to have
Genius.
this thing in Burbank. So why do you think it's such a mental leap to have it there?
So first of all, it's not the Burbank part of it that's the genius. It's the whole picture. So first of all, you've got these studio backlots. If you've never seen one, they look like cities. They look very much like cities. They're not. They're slightly different. They're compact. They're condensed. They're very, very tightened up. And it allows it to feel much bigger than it is. If you've ever done one of these studio tours that have been used in countless films and television shows. And it's great because if you're going to do a demo with or without passengers, maybe they're just rolling around without passengers, you need a city. You need a controlled environment. You don't want it to be too large. You don't want it to be too small. So when I was looking at the other lots, for example, Paramount's lot, I think would be too small for this purpose. Universal Studios would be better. They've got a bigger back lot, but I imagine that might be harder to get booked. It probably came down to what was available on the date. 10-10 or 10 out of 10, as I think I'm going to call it. Or, for that matter, it's Roman numerals, XX. That's probably what we're going for here. Because, numerology, why not Roman numerology? But why a movie studio lot? Well, the upside, one big upside. Yes.
Just before you go on, I was thinking that, there's lots of different towns in these backlots. So you have an English town, or you'll have a European town. You'll have a New York City type town. You'll have a Midwest type town. You'll also have an Old West type town. And those are some of the most popular. So shouldn't it really take place in an Old West town so we can have a contrast between, the modern, the most modern cars and wouldn't it?
Of course. But you know the rules, Randy. We have to go through Back to the Future 2
Two.
before we can get to Back to the Future 3,
There you
which
go.
was in the Old West. That's just common knowledge.
Okay, okay.
But that is a great point, is that you can get to see it in all these different environments. And in terms of the people who will be there taking pictures, what a variety of pictures you're going to get across these different, biomes, I guess. So another advantage to these studios is they are secure locations. They've already got existing policies, procedures in place. They've got a perimeter. They know how to defend it, because people would love to break into a Hollywood studio to get spy shots of a new movie being made, to steal something extremely valuable like set pieces or equipment. So they're already secure. Securing a location like this will be easier than it would be at any of the Tesla locations where the vulnerable points are not always known, where you haven't had 100 years of people trying to break in. So that's another big advantage there. And I think then what it came down to is just looking to see all the places that could be available and which one is. And the only downside I see is I've seen a lot of very skeptical people saying, well, that's fitting. It's going to be fake anyway, so might as well go somewhere where fake stuff happens. And I'm thinking, so look, here's the deal, guys. You already had that in your head before this was announced. So this changes nothing. Your attack vector was already neutered before. Yeah, it was pre-written. So we don't need to wait for the event to write those headlines. You've already written them. The problem with being a critic who is impossible to please is that at some point people stop trying.
Yes, that's true. I've heard that about you. No, wait a minute. Did I say that out loud? Again, I
Yes.
keep saying these things out loud. What do you expect to see at 1010? What is your, I don't know, your list of expectations maybe, and or how does that differ from your list of hopes?
My list of hopes is to see everything, to see an event that's long and has bots and intermediate compacts and cars without wheels and cars with wheels. Or Canadian cars with square wheels, I'm pretty sure is what I learned on that documentary series South Park. But what I'm expecting to see is a working prototype, and not just one of them, but a number of them, at least 10, maybe more. I expect the vehicle to look nothing like what anyone will predict. The
Yeah.
Cybertruck, even with that one grainy, no contrast picture, most people couldn't figure out which end of the vehicle we were looking at and which direction it was. Is this the top? Is it the back? I don't know what I'm looking at. And I think we could see that again with the robotaxi, where it is just something that's that radical. And so I'm expecting, in terms of the vehicle itself, I expect it to be lower horsepower. We don't need a race car if it doesn't have a wheel. I don't want to go 0 to 60 in even 5 or 6 seconds. It just needs enough horsepower that it can recover energy during a hard braking, but it doesn't need to recover all of it, because the cost of those bigger motors, those heavier motors, is not worth it for something that's so seldom done, that the brakes are already going to last 200, 300,000 miles. That's enough. So a single motor, lower horsepower, more affordable car. There's a lot of creature comforts in the car that don't necessarily need to be there on a robotaxi. Specifically lumbar support, because as we know, we got to get rid of that, apparently. But yeah, and I'm expecting to see, I don't know what we'll see about pricing, but I would be very surprised if what we see can't be made and sold for 25,000 with a 20% margin.
Okay, a 20% margin. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So this has become a really an issue of confusion for me. We know that what we have been expecting all along is that there will be a version of this with a steering wheel, or some kind of a $25,000 car that can be driven. So will we see that also? Is that still a thing? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you.
I don't think it is a thing. I think it's gone. I think this is, I've seen, again, a lot of people on social media saying, well, what they needed to do was get the intermediate compact out 3 years ago and the compact out a year ago, ignoring that there wouldn't have been adequate factory space to do so, and that the lessons learned from Cybertruck to get from there to unboxed hadn't been learned yet. But it ignores the shift in the paradigm. It ignores that you're telling the coach builders, the stagecoach builders, that you know what they really needed to prevent the coming onslaught of automobiles? If they'd have put better suspension on stagecoaches.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, if they'd have made, you know what? If they could have made the stagecoaches cheaper, if they could have made a really nice stagecoach that was also really cheap, that would have saved them.
Yeah.
And if this is a paradigm shift where if this works, which
it got to,
it's got to,
don't do it. You can't.
It should.
Yeah. You're not going to make it if it doesn't work. I like this logic. Keep going, Brian.
Yes. If this works, the way we think about cars will change, just like it did with computers before, just like it did with the internet, just like it did with television. What we thought of as television back when there were 3-4 channels is quaint. And if you were only preparing to have that as your future, you were not positioned well to survive in the days when there are small channels that are doing great work for a smaller audience. And that's all the more audience they need. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let me, so let's think through this again, just for the 5 people out there that didn't understand what we already said. So you're saying, okay, if we have, not if, there is only one reason to have the 1010 event. This is only an event about about
the cab.
It's about the future of driving around with no driver and paying for the privilege of getting into this cab. This is what the event's about.
I think so.
Okay. So if that's what the event is about, it has to work. There's no like, oh, we're going to have this event, but the product is never going to actually be a cab. It's never going to be a cab without a driver. So it has to have.
It has to have no wheel. It has to have no wheel.
No wheel. No. So if it can already do all those things, why would you ever stick a wheel back in it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. Yes. And even if it had a wheel, it's not designed for you. You're not the right customer. You're going to want to go fast sometimes, and it's not the right tool for that job. You're going to want to take it around the track, and it's not the right tool for that job. It can be extremely safe, but not very fun to drive. And it only matters if it's your car, if it's your baby. But if it's your business tool, do you ever go to a bus stop to catch a bus, and when the bus pulls up, go, not that one, I'll wait for a prettier bus? Never once, never. Even if it's like sputtering and spewing fumes, you go, ugh, okay, you hop on. And the price is the exact same. Yeah. So the priorities are different when you're talking about different products. Now, if we want to be cynical, what we could say is that when people are there, they can open their Tesla app. They can go to the part that says summon a car, because they would push it that day, and you would enter your code that they give you with your ticket. That gets you into it. And you can order a car to take you to the other side of the lot. And here's where the beauty is, Randy, is there's going to be surge pricing. It's going to be $1,000 a ride. Tesla's going to make their money back on this event. Because there's going to be thousands of people there and only a couple dozen cars. The surge pricing is going to get you.
That's right. That, by the way, that so happened to me in Paris.
Oh, did it?
Oh, man. It was like a 15-mile ride for $175 because the yellow vest people had closed down the bridges over the Seine, and as a result, we had to go 20 miles outside of town and 20 miles back, and it was surge pricing, and it was so I've seen it. So it is possible, and maybe you're onto something. What's going to be the one more thing?
Oh, Optimus. I think we're going to see one for the first time in quite a while. There was some very poorly founded criticism recently saying, "Oh, Tesla brought their bot to the Chinese robot demo, but it couldn't even compete." And no, what they brought was a 2.0 version, and we know they're past that. 2.5 is already in testing months ago. They're probably at 3.0 at this point. So that was a prop. That wasn't if it doesn't move, it's not a robot, it's a mannequin. Don't tell Dan O'Dowd, he'll try and run it down. But but we could see it. We could see it. Why not? And I know a lot of
We could be back to my Western story again. Remember
Mhm.
that video that came out with the
with the 6-shooter?
the
It's a great video.
shooting? Yeah, this could be, it could be a set piece like that.
Well, it could also be Westworld, which opens up some different doors.
Very different doors.
Doesn't look like anything to me.
So the one more thing you think will be Optimus. I'll ask my ongoing question. I believe that the inside of the car is going to be, well, the entire thing is going to, because this is an Elon Musk project. So I believe that this is how he thinks, that it's going to be all about the experience. So it's going to be, yeah, it's got to be comfortable. It's got to be something that you're not sitting there biting your nails while you're driving along, but that there's going to be stuff inside that interior, stuff that is going to make it a pleasure. It's going to make it something that you want to tell your friends about.
I think that's a great idea. I hadn't considered that, but sure, why not have an even larger screen, perhaps? I don't think it needs to have the quality of sound that we've got in most Teslas today. The sound is absolutely fantastic.
Mhm.
I think you could trim $500 off the production cost by putting in pretty good sound instead of amazing. But for a demo, I mean, use the parts you already have, which are very good parts. Yeah, make the experience something interesting. And what they could do is have, yeah, a, a driving tour. That's what I'm waiting for, is a driving tour, so that I can get a tour of the city that I'm in for the first time, go point to point. It can be as long or as short as I want it to be. I can say, I'm not interested in this one, keep going, we'll stop at the next one. It can say, here's the scenic vista, but it's cloudy, just keep going. So the lot is a little small for that, but it'd be interesting. I mean, it'd be interesting if they did it at Universal and they just gave you the Universal tour in the car.
It's right. That'd be a phenomenal all by itself. Okay, so now I'm beginning to really, the brainstorming is starting to happen here, Brian. I can imagine that because they've done this before with things, that they would have their own movie. We're talking about a 15-minute movie. Most rides are 15 minutes, probably. Maybe it's a 20-minute, whatever. Maybe there's two of them. You can have a 15-minute, you can have a 30-minute, whatever. And you get in, and as soon as you sit down, you're immediately invited into this amazing movie that there's only one place in the world you can see it. And that's it. Tesla vehicle.
I did get to see, what was it? Weird Al. There was a Weird Al 3D movie inside Al's brain, maybe. And it only showed in 2 places ever. Once was for like 3 years in California, and then the other was at the Puyallup Fair in Washington before they renamed it the Washington State Fair. It was wonderful, and you'll never get to see it.
Maybe they could grab that. Maybe it's still available. Anyway, okay. All right. So we are all looking forward to 1010. You can be sure that Brian will be there. You can be sure I will be there. I don't know whether either one of us will get in, but if you have a +1, you can notify either Brian or myself. And I'm sure if we're still looking for that +1, we could grab a hold of it. If not, we could tell you and suggest that you call the other one. But I mean, obviously we're going to try with our own shares to get in as well. But that's a roll of the dice, I guess, or one way or the other. Hopefully we do get in the door. All right, Brian, I think I'm done with you. Oh,
I'm dismissed.
you're dismissed. And it's been great talking to all of you.